Hello, welcome back. We're here at lesson 3. I hope you're enjoying the program so far and getting something out of it. But I want you to do the whole thing first and then maybe go back to certain lessons as you go on to that particular topic. So let's get started. And sorry, my lighting is not so good. So, lesson 3, organization. It's so important. After we declutter, we want to get organized so that things will stay organized and we won't have to keep decluttering, organizing, decluttering, organizing. There's always going to be some purging and back to a little bit of organization, but if you do it right the first time, you don't have to be having this major overhaul all the time. It'll just stay in place. Pretty much. So let's get started. I want you to start seeing organization as a lifelong process, one that you would even want to pass on to, say, your children or others, anyone, any loved ones that you think could benefit from this. Everyone could really help themselves by learning the skill of decluttering and organization. It will stay with them for the rest of their lives. So I want you to think of it that this is just not a little, project you're doing right now. This can really stay with you and really improve your life for many years to come. So, if you have others living with you, even children, getting them to buy into the idea of living in an organized house can really help your cause. So, try to make them understand how this is going to help everybody, and you'll be surprised. They'll grab onto it and at least cooperate with you on it. So I suggest, even if you have older children, having like a family meeting and maybe enlightening them of all the benefits that living in an organized space can bring. So try to get a buy-in from anyone that lives in your home. Now, we all know lack of storage has become a major issue for many people, and there's not much we can do about that unless you move to a bigger space. But there are plenty of steps you can take to better utilize the space you currently have to work with. So, I found this to be so true. I wouldn't have believed it when I first heard it, but an unorganized mess can actually take up more space than an organized bin. So, you'll be surprised. You may have more available space in your home than you thought if you've done enough decluttering and now you organize the best way for your space. You'll be surprised. So here's what I want everyone to try to do. Look at what you have left after you've decluttered. Maybe even take another look and see if there's something else you could part with, but that's not for this lesson. Assess the items and consider the space you have to store those items. So what I'm saying is, don't just, when you finish your decluttering, oh my God, I'm so excited, I'm put everything back and I'm all good. And that's fine. But if you plan ahead, it will stay organized a lot more. So follow on here. Plan this out. Think about how you use these items and where you need to have them. What room? Are they being stored where you use them the most? So even consider that. Analyze any shelving space you already have and see if you can utilize that space in, a more organized way. In other words, it's time to take a step back before you proceed and really plan the space out and what needs to be stored there. Resist the urge to, I've done this before and I'm now learned my lesson. Resist the urge to run out and buy storage and organizational items before you assess your situation. Have a coordinated plan. Measure the space available in each area and then assess the items that need to be stored there and buy the correct size bins. I've done this where I thought the bin would fit in a certain shelf and it doesn't. So now I have to use it somewhere else, and it doesn't really help your system. So analyze it first before you go out and buy your storage or organizational items. And today there's so many options these days for attractive and low cost. I was surprised at how, reasonable these things are, storage items. And check out Pinterest for ideas before you go shopping, and even before you measure your space, get some ideas on Pinterest. In fact, I have a board on my Pinterest that is for just, organizational items. And I will share the link to that board at the end of the class, of course. So you can see what I've, pinned on my board for organizational. But I actually bought this actual set, and I absolutely love it. It's because the front is clear, so you can see, what kind of items are in there. And they're soft, like a fabric-y, so they're very lightweight. So that's just an example. Here's some other stuff. Amazon has, obviously millions of things, but Target and Walmart even carry that type of stuff. So, plan it out. Then, start off maybe by identifying the areas that seem to always attract clutter and look messy. And it's different for everyone, but a lot of people, it's like that kitchen counter where you first, come in from the garage or whatever. So install what we call clutter busters in those areas. For example, like the photo here has got some fancy ideas of what you could put. But, for example, a tidy inbox for your mail or the kids' schoolwork, or, things that you have to keep, right by the door, a nice looking inbox type thing. A junk drawer for those little odds and ends that end up on the kitchen counter. And then find solutions that work for you. Everybody might live a little different, and, you have to analyze what would work for you, and create the system around that. So create a system for the area where you enter your home, like we just said. And for example, set up a command center to handle all the items that end up being dumped there. Basically, you want to create a specific place for the things you use the most. And I probably should have put that sentence in bold letters. You want to create a specific place for the things you use the most. Keep that as your guiding statement during the organizational chapter in this journey. Now let's, just look at a few other suggestions to help you put your systems in place. Couple of quick little tips. For extra space, go vertical. I kind of know this, but you sort of forget, like, you can put things way up high if they're things that you don't use a lot. In your garage, get really high shelving, or they have those hanging from the ceiling shelving things. And even in a closet, go way up. That, most builders don't put any kind of fancy closet, systems in. So, remember, you could probably go higher in that closet if it's something you don't use that often. Use baskets for storage. That's my favorite, because you can even leave this out with, toys in it, dog toys, blanket, pillow, anything, towels, and it still will look nice, but it'll be, serving the storage purpose at the same time. Make use of hidden storage. This is what I call kind of hidden storage, but also they have coffee tables now that the top opens up, and that's got storage. So it sounds like a little bit of kind of what good is a little at the store, but every little bit helps. And even here, these seats that go at the end of your bed, that opens up, and you can store things in there, like sheets, pillowcase, whatever. So that's a big help. And also, I love these hangers. I'm telling you, they will double your closet space. And it doesn't make sense, but I didn't believe it until I saw it for myself. These velvet hangers are the best. So, try changing all the hangers in your closet to these, and you will be surprised. Without taking one article of clothing out, you will have, at least a third to a half more space than you had before. Now, I love those, clear see-through containers for things that you plan to store away. That way, when you're looking for something, you can easily see what items are in each bin. So I do love those types of clear storage bins. These are very sturdy, these totes or whatever, but you have to make sure you label everything. I label everything anyway, but those clear ones are just like, oh, okay, I know what's in there. Now, I do want to caution you on jumping into the clear containers that you may see others using in the kitchen, especially like even in their refrigerator. They pour their milk in this, and it looks really nice. And while I love the way they look, you need to be aware that when you put food items in them, instead of keeping them in their original container, now you no longer have access to the expiration dates or the ingredients, or if it's got some direct, cooking instructions or recipes. You've lost all that if once you switch. So I've started now to be a little more selective on what I don't put stuff in clear things in my refrigerator from the original container. I just don't do that. Leftovers, yes, but the other things I need to know, if it's expiring soon or what's going on. So just keep that in mind. And again, I'm going to say another big thing: label, label, label. Plan, 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 and label everything. It'll make your life much, much easier. I want to finish this chapter off with, or this lesson off with, our home is an extension of our energy field. And as I said in the previous chapters, everything is made up of energy. So if you think about your home being an extension of your energy field, then this is why practices like cleaning your home, rearranging furniture, organizing your closet, and getting rid of objects that are cluttering your space can have a profound effect and impact on your mind, body, and spirit. Believe me, you are doing the best thing you could for your mind, body, and spirit by following through with some of these tips. So I'll see you in lesson 4, and I hope you're enjoying it so far.